We are nearing the conclusion of our programming today here at the growth stage at Estufa Fria. But coming up next, we have a very exciting panel that is going to be discussing some different themes in the crypto world, social tokens, NFTs, and all of it is going to be tied together with the shared theme of giving back to the community. If we are ready to go, we can welcome up our guests. I will be moderating this panel as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey.
All
Does this
right.
get turned on
All
automatically?
right.
It does, yes.
It does. Hello? Can they hear me now? Oh.
Well, sweet. Thank you all for joining. I think we can all start off by doing some quick intros. So, Leon, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. This is my first live panel ever. And this is founder of Only One. And we are trying to help content creators monetize without the need of third parties. And we just launched our beta a month ago and closed our seed round with Alameda a couple months ago. So just here to look for networking with other builders and learn more about the whole ecosystem.
Sweet.
Hey, I'm Noah Prince. This is my first panel ever, so go easy on me. I'm the founder of Wumbo, which, if you guys saw it with a bunch of price tags on Twitter that looked kind of like BitClout, that's what we did. I'm actually here. We're kind of pivoting it into a protocol because we realize there's a ton of people that want to build social tokens, and we really need to enable the builders. So I'm actually here to try and network with developers and help them build social tokens. It's super easy. It's a couple lines of code.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and I am the community director over at the Dfinity Foundation. So for those of you who have not heard of Dfinity, we are a Swiss non-for-profit based out in Zurich, Switzerland, and we are one of the primary contributors to the blockchain network called the Internet Computer. So Internet Computer is essentially a public blockchain network where people are able to build all sorts of general purpose items, things like NFTs, websites, GameFi, SocialFi, enterprise systems, kind of the list goes on. But I'm excited to be here, and thank you again to the Solana team for having me.
Of course. Thank you all for giving an introduction. My name is Ryan. I am on the Solana Labs team. I focus on operations, product, and marketing. And I'm sort of going to be helping facilitate this discussion today. So, my first question to you all, and this is an open question. Our panel's title is about giving things away to your community. And we have a couple of you all that are sort of focused on founding and stimulating the growth of your own community. And so I'm wondering, with this very general question of how you build a close, tight-knit community, how do you view giving away things and also rewarding your community in the early days? And how important is that to you when you sort of look at early growth metrics that might be, somewhat misleading in some ways or exciting in others?
Yeah, I'm happy to start and take this one. So I think there's a couple of things that we try to look at the Dfinity Foundation as it relates to both supporting our community of enthusiasts and developers and investors, but also in trying to support the founders and entrepreneurs as they go out and start to develop their own communities. So early days, a lot of that focus was primarily on decentralization and trying to ensure that there was enough of a base of people that were interested in the underlying protocol and the work that would inevitably need to be done to help build out that ecosystem. And we primarily went about incentivizing those people through things like airdrops, but also just time. It cannot be understated how much time you really do need to spend with, those early participants in your ecosystem, the ones that are interested in really getting out there and doing more. So by arming them with, access to the team, giving them your time, and perhaps, a bit of initial funding, you really can, get to a point where they're doing a bit more.
Yeah. So I think what I'm about to share is something that most other founders or project owners can probably resonate. Is that what you really want to do with about growing your community is you want to have people that actually know what your project does and really believe in the vision of the project to be part of the community and stay there long term and eventually become users. And when it comes to giving things away, it's something that we use very sparingly. I mean, we all know the meme like when airdrop, when moon or whatever. Like, I think that's rather. I mean, it's fun for a while, but over a long term, if that's all your community cares about, it's also a little bit toxic. So we try to like use that very sparingly at certain times as like a marketing gig, but in the context of giving things to our creators and like our end users on the actual platform instead of just growing our Telegram or whatever, I think that's a very different environment where it's all about incentivizing creators to do the right thing and put out the right content, maybe mint the right NFTs, and also for people consuming those content, it also matters a lot to them how the incentivization structure is being created. Yeah.
So I think for us, it's interesting from a developer standpoint, right? Like, if you look at Metaplex, they never took any fees, they never took any cut, but they made it really, really easy to launch your NFT, and they created this standard, and this standard has an incredible amount of value, and they gave it out for free, right? And that's not to say Metaplex doesn't have value. There's a tremendous amount of value, and everybody who works there can tell you that, right? And I think there is kind of this is why we're kind of pivoting to the protocol model. I think there is this power in just giving things away to the developers because it's really the builders that make this ecosystem, right? It's those people getting out there and they realize that there are new business models that can be made. Like, you've given them a framework for completely new business models. And so in the early days of NFTs, you saw just simple art and people were buying it because they like the art. But as it's matured, you've got people doing incredible things with it, creating video games where your NFT gets you something in the video game, access to gated communities, really just generally the community. And I think for us, that's going to be really important. And then just being there from a developer support standpoint, right?
One more point on this, Ryan. So when you're looking at the actual creators, the people who are developing some of these platforms and some of these ecosystems, I think it's also really important to think about this idea of, kind of giving away free things more through the lens of how do I just create some really great, incentive models and feedback loops. So one of the things that we are currently seeing, becoming quite popular within the internet computer ecosystem as it relates to a number of, social-fi projects that we're starting to see pop up. Products, I think there's one called OpenChat, which is very similar to Signal, one called Discover, very similar to Reddit, and another called District, very similar to LinkedIn, is how do we incorporate, some of these models where, yes, we are able to reward, the users for the things that they're doing on the platform, whether that is, posting content, moderating content that's coming through, spending more time in promoting the content that is happening within the platform, outside of the platform. And yes, you can always encourage these people and reward them with native tokens or governance tokens. But there's also, a lot of value in rewarding those people with things that aren't necessarily related directly to that platform. So perhaps cross collaborations with different NFT artists or different other platforms and products that are popping up in your ecosystem. And then you are kind of getting to this place where you're creating these shared experiences, right? And ultimately, when I think about, what really does help to create a strong community for some of these smaller projects that are just getting started, it's the incentivization models, it's the shared experiences, it's really having people kind of bought into that mission and where that application is going. So I think, in incorporating some of those things, you can get quite far.
Absolutely. I think to continue this, line of questioning, Noah and Leon, you're both focused on building your ecosystem, building your community. With regards to incentive structures and historically what we've seen in the past with projects like Definity and Solana and their legal structure and their business model structure, how do you sort of view and anticipate the power laws that still sort of replicate themselves with early developers, early community members, maybe other organizations that receive the lion's share of maybe these incentive structures? Mm-hmm. And specifically with regards to social tokens, I'm curious about that. But is there any we're, in my opinion, we're generally improving on how we sort of plant the seeds in an early ecosystem, but still some seeds get more tending than others. And so I'm wondering if you're how you're sort of evaluating that.
Yeah, I think outside of just how people are being incentivized to do certain things, it's also about who's getting incentivized. Like in the context of social platforms, traditionally, like the platform, advertisers pay the platform for the user's attention and activities. Whereas in a decentralized world, supposedly the platform will pay users for the value that they generated, right? I think those two are very different contexts, and that creates a completely different incentivization model for content creators in the context of social media. So, for example, on Facebook, which I'm sure most people here do use, like a lot of the things that you see are vastly controlled by the platform, like what keywords do they prioritize in the discovery algorithm, or why show you a picture of your friend's dog if they can show you a picture of a hot girl that's going to make you eventually click their advertiser's link and buy a protein shake, right? So I think that kind of stuff really comes into play when it comes to how people actually create content and being incentivized to do so.
No, is this power structure, this power law unavoidable? What do you think?
So I think you give people the freedom of movement, right? Like traditional social token models, it's on a bonding curve, so one token is related to the value of another token. And typically the way people launch social tokens is they launch a base token, and the only way to buy all the social tokens is tied to that base token, and then they take a cut of that base token. And this is kind of your traditional model. But what if you could create any base token? And what if now there's an economy for creating a collective, for creating a community, and then driving that community? And now people can leave one community and go to another. And so you're saying, look, if you join my collective, we're going to take some fee on the sales, but like we're also going to build you a website, or we're going to build you a video game, right? And it's this freedom of movement and this really ability to customize where things go. Not everyone's going to have the same business model. I mean, even in the NFT space, we've seen people create incredible business models just out of the idea that you can send royalties to different accounts, right? And that's what we want to enable.
And just to add on to Noah's point, I want to agree with why social tokens are actually a very brilliant financial model as well. Like, decentralized social media has been a trend, has been a thought for many, many years. Even back in 2016-17, there's been many other platforms trying to basically decentralize social media. Some of them include Steemit, Mithril, Gifto, you name it. And most of them revolve around basically rewarding users, giving away free stuff for producing quality content. And over the long run, they face a small issue about the token becoming over-inflationary, because they just give, but then the actual utility of the token is not fully, ironed out. And what social tokens can actually do, which something that I do admire a lot as well, is they decouple the financial the inflationary aspect of their native token, and every content creator have their own token. Like you would have Noah token, and then you can have your fan base trade your token. So I think that definitely has its place in the future of decentralized social media.
Got it.
Do you have any thoughts on this as you've sort of seen the Dfinity ecosystem grow? And I certainly have some thoughts as we've witnessed Solana's ecosystem flourish over the past year. But especially as you sort of evaluate projects and how you might be consulting them and advising them through these decisions to structure these incentive models. What's top of mind?
I think one of the things that I've been personally very much so looking at is just how we can try a good number of these models early on. I think there's a lot of value in remembering that when you are just starting out and you kind of have this core group of your community, you can try different things, and you can have that kind of dialogue with your ecosystem about how you might want to work on some of the different incentive models as it relates to your application particularly. And one of the things that I think is helpful in that regard is something that I think was very much so top of mind for a lot of projects at the protocol layer for quite some time, maybe a little bit less so now, but I think it will kind of be in the back of everyone's minds for quite some time to come, and it's the conversation of governance too. And on the internet computer, we really want to get to a place where people are able to utilize essentially what is a replica of our on-chain governance mechanism called the network nervous system to create things called the service nervous systems and work with their community to, in almost real time, week over week, month over month, change some of these parameters, change some of these incentive models until they find something that works. But I think right now the major bit of feedback that we have for people is to continue to try different things and continue to experiment, and also learn from your neighbors too. Composability is really one of the key features for the internet computer, and being able to incorporate the attributes and applications from other creators within our space. So to that extent, you might be able to find ways in which you can focus on utilizing your tokens, and whether they're social tokens or governance tokens, for very specific outcomes, while leaning on maybe some of the functionality that's provided by other projects and platforms within the space, to add some of that additional functionality that you're looking for out of your end product.
Completely, that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious for you both, the founder's perspective when looking at cross-chain composability, and how you sort of view other ecosystems, as I'm sure in your product roadmap you're not only looking at Solana, you're looking beyond. How do you sort of view what we've been discussing in terms of how ecosystems started, and does that sort of impact how you view them at the current moment, or how you can see their growth in the future?
I think I was listening to Audius's talk earlier, and I thought Audius is one of the more mature projects out there that's actually consumer-facing. And in terms of actual getting adoption from retail users, I think there's still a lot of infrastructure and a lot of tools that needs to be built before that can be an easier onboarding. They have the Hedgehog wallet, which is something that's brilliant, and the figurative gap between different ecosystems right now is still rather huge. For someone new to crypto, you have to tell them, hey, you have to bridge your BNB using the smart bridge to the other chain, and then you can do this on the other DeFi protocol. And that kind of user experience is just too big of a friction for user adoption. So in terms of going cross-chain, I think that is going to be a major catalyst for true retail user adoption of crypto dApps. Not just trading and buying and investing, but also actually using these decentralized applications for solving real-life problems.
Noah?
Yeah, I think cross-chain is a difficult question because we're so early, right? In the early days of AWS, there was just AWS. That's where you would deploy things, right? And then Google Cloud came out, and then Azure came out. And then suddenly you started seeing a bunch of tools come out, like Terraform, that make it so that you can do things across them. But in that early stage, you just couldn't not couple yourself to what you're building on, right? And that's where we are now. So at the end of the day, you pick the chain that fits your needs best, which for us, when we're minting tons of tokens, you need low fees. And then eventually, right, open to going to multiple chains, but it's the level that we're doing things right now is much lower. It's almost like we're building infrastructure and highways for a city, and you can't just swap it.
Totally. We have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to split up time, give you each 30 seconds. What free things can we get from you today in your ecosystem or your project?
All right. Actually, now that I think about it, there is, well, it's not today, but you can sign up today, I believe. There is an NFT drop coming from an organization called Poke Studios, and they do really wonderful work. They have a series of bots that they're dropping, and they're also doing a very massive metaverse project on the internet computer. And, I think it's really exciting to see some of these come to fruition. The Canister smart contract model on the internet computer essentially allows for people to have up to about 8 gigabytes of space that they can play around with when they're actually building out, these NFTs. So now you're seeing people build out things like art galleries that, and of course these canisters can hold metadata that can also own their NFT or hold NFTs. So we're seeing a lot of really interesting things coming out of that side. But if you are interested in kind of taking a look at what is happening on kind of this metaverse conversation, as well as maybe getting your hands on a couple of pretty freaking cool NFTs, Pocket Studio. And I will tweet about that probably after this chat if anyone wants to find it quickly. And I'm just at the Mike Hunt on Twitter.
Sweet. Noah?
I don't have any free NFTs for you, but
None.
I can offer my time. If any of you are interested in building social tokens at all, if you just have an idea, if you're a developer, or if you're a creator, and you want to, let me know. Reach out to me. You can find us at Team Wumbo on Twitter, and I answer the messages on there. You can find us in the Discord. When we launch a protocol, I'll be there as well. A lot of these people that are really, really early, it's going to be super hands-on, right? Like, I will probably basically be helping your developer write code. That's what I have to offer now, is my time.
It's a great offer.
Yeah, we
Leon?
also don't have any free things to give away for now. But we're all here to build and learn, right? So we're currently building our beta product, and beta users is something that we value a lot, and we really want people that actually understand the ecosystem and the whole vision to join on board. So come talk to me, and I'll definitely have very interesting conversations with people, and hopefully can get more people come to try out the product, and also just to meet new friends.
Sweet. Well, thank you all so much.
Yeah.
We had a lot of ideas shared here today. A couple of panel newbies, but I think we had a great conversation. Thank you all so much for joining.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.